HMOs and the police, and I have invited the police, and I've invited someone from the housing, and I also invited Tesco's, but unfortunately Tesco's are not here, and neither are the police here, but we've got housing here. So in terms of supported living, what is it you call?
I'm Samantha Jones. I'm a housing senior service manager for housing. So we deal with a lot of antisocial behaviour. So across, I'm recently new in post, so I cover Aston now. So I'll be your main contact going forward with any antisocial behaviour within the Aston area.
Thank you for coming. So it's myself and
Sorry, Samantha Jones.
Samantha Jones. So we've got Pat here, which we caught her off guard doing our little minutes for. Thank you, Pat, for that. And we've got Raymond who will be doing some recording for us. So I'm going to leave it out to the floor for questions, and we'll take some notes here.
Who gave permission for a six-bedroom HMO?
That's on London Road.
That's on the side road where the issue happened that day.
Okay.
On where? What road is it?
London.
London Road.
So do you want to stand up, sir, so you can? No, it's fine. So you were saying London Road. Do you have a door number at all?
17,
Okay.
18, 21, 15, the old HMO. And they got access to all the shops on the back, like he got into Zakib's the other day.
They're all two-bedroom properties, are they?
Yeah, the two-bedroom properties.
They've all
Well,
been changed.
obviously, I don't know how you can make a six-bedroom property out of. Well, they'll give you that.
But you know, for example, it's a two-bedroom, it's only a six. Should they be granting the permission first before doing all that?
Yeah, they would have had to have planning permission,
So
etc.
why?
and
So
alterations.
is there any councils?
We'll get the
Councils
planning permission, yeah.
should ask permission from the neighbours. Right? For doing it.
They should do. They normally put a notice out to obviously ask for comments, etc. So they do normally. What I'll have to do. Obviously, I'll have to go back to the relevant department and obviously ask all these questions. So obviously, whatever you're asking me today, obviously I'll go back and try and report back to you next meeting. Is that okay? So London Road, was that the only one you mentioned? Another road?
One is house is number next door to me is number 232 is the Aston Lane, and that is that they're using drugs and fighting late night after the 1 p.m. as well. Like we refuse when they take the permission. We refuse the 3 times, and we ring the council as well. And still, I don't know how they're putting the HMOs there. And they make lots of complaint. Many times comes the police as well. I don't know how they're running. Still is we have I have a 7-year-old. My son is going to school. Always is trouble. Is not concentrating on the education, and many problem is sleeping in the class because they can't sleep.
Yeah.
But what
So
the
that's
house,
a
the
HMO
house,
property
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
the house what he's on about, they sent out letters to all the residents there. We all refused it. But then how is he still going ahead with it? This is my question.
Is it definitely turned into a house?
Yeah. Maybe
Already
Maybe from a 3 to a 6.
They all the time fighting, and many times police involved as well.
The police
But
have
still
been out
there.
quite a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yes, many times.
With the police, I know obviously I always advise that ring the police. I know they might not come out, or they might, but it's logged. You need to ring them every time. The more the people that ring them, the more they'll do something about it. Because if you look, I mean, obviously, councillor, you probably know probably a bit more than me, but when we're dealing with any antisocial behaviour, the council always advise the tenants to ring the police as many times as possible, because the more logs they have in a particular area, the more they can transfer resources from somewhere else to deal with a specific problem within that area. So the more calls they get, the more logs, the more resources they can put into. If there's only 2 phone calls made regards to a property, an incident, then that something else is obviously more important with the police. Obviously, any whatever takes place is priority. So we need to ensure that you're contacting the police as
Please
possible
don't do anything.
and
anyway.
logging it on their systems and taking crime numbers, taking reference numbers that they give you, and make sure these are logged correctly. Because sometimes when people do ring, tenants do ring the police, they don't. The call centre doesn't give you a reference number. You need to make sure a reference number is always given to you, because then that ensures it's logged.
Yeah, the West Midlands Police are supposed to text message you
Yeah.
the actual log number.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to do.
So-
But respectfully, I just wanted to hear what you had to say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that actually happen within the local vicinity, but the thing is, you've got selective licensing scheme, yeah. Okay, so how do you kind of justify having more than four licenses in a road which has only got 19 houses? How do you justify that?
Sorry, I can't, because I'm not
Okay,
from
so if you wanna-
licensing, so I can take that back.
Yeah, if you
but
want
I'm
to take
not-
something back to
Yeah.
the licensing scheme,
Yeah,
is
of course,
basically
yeah.
if you've got 19 houses on one road and four of them you've issued licenses to, and then you're saying that there's an issue, it's obvious it's going to be an issue, isn't it? Who's creating the issue?
Which road are you talking about
But
here?
that's not only that, all the side roads
Yeah.
across the whole of Aston Lane, you've turned into HMOs, yeah, to generate revenue. You're obviously getting money for this. Every 3 years, you're getting money from it. You're doing it from what? You look on Aston Lane, in a certain demographics, how many HMOs are they? And also, you're allowing the RSLs, registered social landlords, to bypass the scheme as well. So how do you justify that? Well, what steps are you taking with regards to actually safeguarding other people, and in terms of managing these effectively? How are you doing that?
What is probably best if we get someone from that department to come to the next.
There needs to be someone from the license authority sitting here, not yourself. Issue all of these licenses, so then you've got, then you're saying there's a problem.
Licensing.
I think what the issue what we're having is
The issue
When we-
is,
when we
you've
have-
got-
when we
sorry,
have-
can you, no, allow me to speak. It's a public
but you're
platform.
shouting at
I'm
me.
not shouting, I'm just passionate about my area.
right.
I've grown up in this area and I've seen it decline rapidly. So allow us to speak. If you allow us to come here, please allow us to speak.
Well,
No,
me
no,
sitting here as
all
an
right, if
officer.
you're shouting, all right, if I come across as shouting, I'm passionate
Well, that's
about
what
I'm
that's
saying.
what I was going to say.
Okay, so either way, I'm not speaking to you directly, I'm speaking openly on an open platform. I'm passionate about what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is, you've got RSLs here, like Providence, you've got all these different rogue RSLs that are, filling up these houses, and they're making the area go down the pan. You don't even feel like going down the road, walk down the road, and all you're bumping into is junkies. You know what I'm saying? And you wouldn't have that in Sutton Coldfield, you wouldn't have that anywhere else, so why should we be here, and why should we why should we live like that? We've been living out all our lives, and all what we want to do is move out the area because of the impact it's having on the area. Why should we tolerate that? Just because you want to generate revenue? I don't think so.
That's 100% right, especially the second floor with the forest area.
It's going to
Two,
get
three houses
rejected,
in
first of all,
at least,
and also,
the main,
sorry,
the
one minute. Can I also, in terms of,
One by one.
all right, can I also ask one thing? You're saying, okay, what's the actual process of obtaining a selective license? You're supposed to let your neighbours know, aren't you? Yeah? All right, I'm telling you right now, yeah, there's licenses that have been issued here, and they've not been actually, they've been bypassed, the systems have been, it's been bypassed. Why can an investigation take place and look at all of that? We never, bypass, in other words, it has not been adhered to. It's not, no, it hasn't. So as a result of that, then you're saying it's having a direct impact on local residents. Of course, it's going to have a direct impact. It's inevitable. It's going to have a direct impact on.
Okay, well, the other issue is, with all these people, a lot of them drink a lot of alcohol. You see in the passage on the roads, bottles of alcohol, especially in the weekend. Bottles. I live in an end terrace house. The passage that leads to the back end, every weekend I have to clear all these bottles.
You got needles,
Alcohol,
oil.
rubbish, all the food, they buy.
That's not the only thing as well. In terms of the impact it has in regards to actually, you've got 5 households or more in one. small, dwelling, how many cars have they got on that? And it has a direct impact on parking issues. And then you've got Birmingham City Council enforcement coming putting tickets on local residents because they're parked on a double yellow. That's taking the piss.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Any other questions, please?
There's 220 Aston Lane.
Drug dealers on.
220. Every day, the drug dealers are going in and out. It's using a HMO, but the HMO people who are using it, they don't even need that property, but because the laws have issued them, all of them are just selling drugs from there every single day. If you go there right now, there's
Selling
drugs
what tonight?
inside the
So basically,
that's
drug dealers are giving.
Just finish and then.
Yeah, so 222 is being reported numerous times. You call the police, nobody turns up. Oh, you don't need the police. Oh, we'll just log it. Police never ever come. Like you say, you keep logging in, but they don't even come out to even look.
Yeah, but West Midlands Police not being here today, that says it all. That says it all. You don't even need to say anymore. So if you bring them up, you're saying that they're gonna, move resources towards one side. Okay, or they're gonna target the resources in a certain area. Respectfully, the amount of times I've rang police, I've given up.
Now, the incident happened on Sunday. About that gentleman was reported a full month about the gentleman. Nothing took place.
He got served by the people who come out 220.
22. So he was obviously has drug
dealers
user.
from that house.
So the guy from 220.
That's why they went across the road, and that's why everything started on that road down the road.
I just want to say, it's so important.
Yeah,
And as you can see, the residents are very registered. Meeting for the first time to turn out. You know, and the worst thing about it is that every time we're meeting, it's a high on the agenda, and it feels like as if we're not really getting anywhere. You know, and I don't know if you guys know, but Aston is top of the list for supported living, isn't it?
And you know
Can I say something about the police? I got contact with police officers, yeah, and I tried, the anonymous phone line several times. I've rang up the 999 code in that channel, and I've actually contacted some of the police officers I deal with. Yeah, when I talk to them, they say we sympathize with you, but it's not my area. Yeah, now you tell me, because I'm not getting any answers, all of us are not getting any answers. No police comes up, nobody rings us or follows it up and say, you phoned on such and such day, okay, we've seen your complaint, can you explain, or can you explain yourself, or can you tell us more about it? Nobody even bothers, so what's the point?
Yeah, I do understand.
And I'm telling you now, paying council tax, I'm really so cheesed off. I feel like I shouldn't pay council tax.
Yeah.
Things are not being collected, the streets are dirty, the trees weren't trimmed, no police. What we paying council tax for? Yet you go to an area like Whole Green, Yardley Wood or somewhere, it's spotless. Yeah, bins are being collected. And they treat us like shit here. You know, it's not. And John Cotton, I got his number on that. I've rang him, I've told him myself. Nothing gets done. Because we live in a deprived area, it doesn't mean we haven't got rights. We pay council tax. I've never missed my council tax in 40 years that I've been working. Never. And this is how you treat us. Just because we live in a deprived area. You go to other good areas. I travel up and down the country in my job, and I'm not joking. In parts of Birmingham, you won't see a spotless. Everything is clean. Everything is done by the grass is clean. Everything is done. Yet in our area, nobody cares. So that's wrong. Totally wrong. Unacceptable.
Can I come to Brother Alam? I think Brother Alam, you want to say something about South Road?
With regards to HMOs over time, I've seen quite a lot of people we see a lot more welcome now. We've got people who are living in this kind of accommodation. Come across people generally, just said that people next door, they also substance abuse, drug abuse, nuisance in noise, and there just seem to be an influx of these individuals. We don't know where they're coming from. A lot of the properties are being sort of made available and afforded to them. these supported livings and HMOs, but they are bringing down the tone of the area in terms of safety. I mean, where I live, I've lived, well, it's my mom's house. I lived there 46 years, moved there. We've had the same neighbor for 43 years. And it's a longer anecdote. But the parents have passed away next week. Kids have turned into like a profitable, supported living accommodation. We've had nothing from class with vouch for that. We've had nothing problems with useless neighbors, the drug abuse. One of the, just give you a little anecdote, one of the individuals that was placed there on the second night was placed there. They've been living here for some years. They took a long knife to the shop, local shop. This is Aston Road, Aston, off Victoria Road. And went in there, showed the women the knife, and just picked up the items and went back. And they couldn't recognize him. They've been there 40 years, but they didn't know who he was. He'd only been there like a month before. But these are the kind of individuals, just to put in the picture, that are being sort of put into these accommodations, and it's running down the area in that regard. I agree with what the gentleman said earlier with regards to lack of amenities and stuff and facilities. Also, I think what also makes the neighborhood is the people themselves caring for the neighborhood as well. Because I live in Sutton, my mom lives in Aston. And like the gentleman said, it's a lot better up there. You don't get the transport. What we do here, somehow, it seems to be these areas like Erdington and now Aston is becoming a hotbed for like this kind of accommodation, these kind of individuals, as though the people here won't mind or they won't complain. And generally, people don't complain here. You do that in my area in Sutton, everybody gets out and starts to,
He's right about that.
fuss about it. So that's my point of concern.
What's your road? Sorry, what's your
South Road.
South Road.
Yes.
My name is Pam Howard, I'm the head of the community safety. I just wanted to come on and listen to all of you. There's a difference between HMOs and supported exempts, supported accommodation, and some of the concerns that you've got with the lack of license. You don't need a license to have a supported accommodation. There is no law, legislation in place that means that you have to have a license for it. So that's legislation that needs to change. We've been lobbying the government for a number of years now. I've got a small team that deals with these issues. With 3 people for the whole city. It's not unique to Aston. So I don't want you to feel penalised in any way because it's not unique to Aston. And the reason it happens in areas like this, it's no more complicated than that. It's cheaper to buy houses in certain areas, and therefore people will buy those houses and then turn them into supported accommodation because there's no license attached. They just need to get the people who live in those properties to sign a benefit form to say that they're getting an enhanced service. You will get individuals in those accommodations that are vulnerable. They will have alcohol problems, because the nature of the accommodation is to offer them added support. So you won't get people in those accommodations that don't need support.
Okay, so what's the role of your team in terms of?
Okay, so again, as I said, we've got 3 offices. So what my offices will do, we've got when we receive reports, my offices will go out and do those. I was just contacting my manager then because he's talking about at least 15 in the Aston Lane area. So we have got supported accommodation in that area.
Who's doing regular audits? Who's responsible for audits?
It's exempt. There is no audit. They have no license. There's no conditions attached to them at all.
Okay.
When I hear your frustration, and I completely agree with your frustration, in our role.
So what can you do for us with regards to obviously limiting the amount of HMOs?
There's no law. There's no law. There's no law legislation in place that limits supported accommodation. It doesn't exist. This is why I've said that we have been, the last goodness knows how many years, but we've been doing this project for about 3 years now. We've been lobbying the government consistently to change that legislation. So it came in around about a decade ago when they did the care and the community legislation. So what they did was all those people that lived in residential accommodation, that's when they brought this legislation in with a view that third sector organisations could provide that service. But all that's happened is it's got worse and worse because people are taking advantage of that. HMO is very different to a supported accommodation.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Hold on, I understand that, but it sounds like it's more likely. Well, we lobbied it. No, you could have always hold on. You could have said straight away 15 years ago or whenever it was when this sociable housing is. You could have said no. Now all of it's gone through the. Hold on. Look, can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish? The horse has already gone through the gate. All of the questioning and whatnot is not going to matter anyway, because basically, now that you got into places like Handsworth, Aston, and places like that, it's hard to reel it back in.
We have no local authority have no say of what the government.
Yes, you did.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
No,
They don't.
we don't.
How come we have to be the burden? Can I finish?
Law,
How come we have to be the burden for everybody's problems? That is the issue. It's not whether or not that basically it's lobbied in the office and whatnot. Why are we the ones that get hammered with it?
And it's a really good question to ask the government. But as I said, I'm trying to explain to you, as a local authority, there are lots of things that we have to do. Government put in place, regardless of who's in charge at the time, that we have to follow. We have no decision. We have no power to change that decision.
Because the horse has already gone through the gate.
We are still lobbying them now. And we have been told with the conversation that we're having with the government, that they are looking at changing the legislation. So we just need to keep doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
What can you do for us then? So, okay, if you're saying that everything's already, you can't, your hands are tied kind of thing. So you, as a local government, what can you do for us?
Right, so we can look at each individual case and
Okay.
get reports.
So how can you take enforcement action against them?
About the individual, so if we can build up an evidence to
Okay.
show that that individual is causing antisocial behaviour.
Individual or the actual property itself?
It has to be the individual, but if we
Okay,
can
so
show.
you're not doing it
You
against
let
the
me,
property?
you let me
No,
finish.
sorry,
No, let
I'm
me
gonna
finish.
forget, I'm gonna forget.
No, you
So-
asked me a question.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
let me
I'm
finish
allowed
the
one.
question. So if we can identify that particular property is causing ongoing, and we've got the evidence to do it, we can close that property. We have done that in different areas.
Okay.
But we have to show a package and a history. That particular property, the provider is causing the problem.
Okay, that's
not
fine.
resolving.
You've just said property and you've said individual, that's
Yes,
two
we can
different
do
things.
both. Yeah, we
Yeah,
can do both.
so in terms of, okay, so in terms of obviously the evidence, is it gonna be against the property? Because not necessarily everyone that's lives, we live alongside a HMO. We're not necessarily gonna know, oh, Patrick in certain room or Mohammed in this room is the culprit. We're not gonna know because we don't know who they are. Yeah, so in terms of, obviously, we wanna know if it's, the issue's coming from that property, what the actual property to be closed
Okay,
down.
can I suggest something?
Hold
Can
on,
I
hold on,
suggest
hold on,
something?
hold on, sir.
If I answer that,
Can I suggest something? Whenever you ring any official place, whether it's a council, police, take the name of the person you speak to, the time you spoke to them, and the number. If you haven't got proof, nothing, you can't follow it up.
Okay, brother. And that doesn't answer.
Okay, can I?
Because the problem with us law, with agents, look, I did a lot of, I did with the council at a high level, let me tell you, the problem with, yeah, the
Why don't you deal
problem,
with the matter then?
yeah,
Because
because
you got this man's number, that man's number, brother, just allow the people.
the
to
problem
answer
with us law, let me tell you, the problem with us law,
Allow the person to answer the question. We're not representatives here. What are you speaking for?
because there is a system and we don't follow the system, that's why we're in this state.
Oh God.
My point was, in terms of.
I'm trying to do exactly what you're trying to do, but the problem with us Asians, let me tell you, every meeting I go to, when I put the complaints forward,
People like you.
Can we have
listen,
one
listen,
meeting, please?
when I put the complaint, I've been to the chief executive as well. One day say, where is the complaint? Give us the proof of complaint. If you got no proof, you can't do anything. Our people complain when they want to pay paper. That's the problem.
Can we have one meeting, please? Can we have one meeting?
Mumtaz, what's the council and they want to do it? The females, what's
Can we?
she's a female Labour councillor. Councillor.
Can I just get one attention, please? This meeting is so that we can resolve matters and see how we can better manage it for the future. So we've got these two ladies here. Let's talk to them and see how we can manage it better. You know, I know what's happened in the past. We can't resolve. You know, we can't make any difference. But let's see how we can make a difference from now on. One question I was going to ask you is, sorry.
I'm saying, manage, when someone asks you a question or one of the representatives a question, please allow them.
Okay.
But then you need to do that in reverse. You need to let people.
That's
fine.
fine. That's fine. No, in terms of you finishing off your question.
Can I ask you a question? In terms of these landlord, these agencies that are letting out these houses for like say supported living, how many complaints do you after how many complaints do you actually say, well, hold on, we need to get to this provider and say to them, look, we can't have your people living here because of this. I mean, how many complaints does it need?
There is no set number, and it depends on the circumstances. So what I was trying to say earlier was, if we get a report of antisocial behaviour or crime, then one of my officers will go out and do an investigation, go out and visit that property. Every complaint we get is visited, every single one of them. So they will go out and visit that property and have a conversation with everyone that can get access to in that property. What I do need to highlight as well is that the managing agency for exempt accommodation, because they're not licensed, they can refuse us access. That's why we've got a seconded police officer, so that if we are having difficulty accessing that property, we can use that police officer to gain access. When we go out and do that investigation, it'll determine what we find. So we may go into one property and find that it's one individual causing all the problems, and then we'll take action against that one individual. And over the years, we've evicted thousands of people from properties and also moved them out of Birmingham. If it is that we identify that no matter what people go in there, there's an ongoing problem because the managing agency or the registered provider are not managing the property correctly and they're not doing what they're supposed to do and they're allowing this to continue over and over again, we can go for a closure order and close it. And we've done it in the last 18 months, we've closed 4 of them down on a closure order. And on one of them, we also got planning to come on board and put a condition in place that that property could never be used for supported accommodation again, because the evidence pack that we put together, and it didn't take 5 minutes, it's a long process, but the evidence pack that we were able to put together with the police showed that we had a long history of that property being an ongoing problem with no one taking accountability and the registered provider not doing it. So there's actually an order on that particular property, which is over on the Hagley Road area, where they will never be allowed to use that property again for supported accommodation because of the history and the evidence. So it very much depends. So there's no real set time, because we could go in there and have 2 complaints of antisocial behaviour, identify the person quite quickly and have them removed. Or we might have to deal with that case for months and months because we're struggling to identify who it might be that's causing the problem or getting into the property. So when you're dealing with reports of antisocial behaviour and crime, and I have spoke to the police today, and I do apologise, councillor, but they didn't tell me they'd been invited tonight. So apologies that they hadn't shown up. So when I spoke to the inspector today, he wasn't aware of this meeting tonight or had an invite. So I'm sure they'll come, and if you do have that difficulty, let me know and I'll bridge that for you. So that there is, I wish I could say to you, we'll go in there and if nothing's resolved in 2 months, that's it. It's not that straightforward, because these are legal orders. And although we don't need to meet the threshold of a criminal order like the police do, because they're civil orders, we still have to have a standard that we have to meet to allow the judge to give us permission, or the magistrate to give us permission to put the orders in place.
What my concern is that the protocol from complaint for eviction is such a long process. I mean, you know, are you going to wait for fatality to happen? Because that was near fatality that day with a guy with a machete. You could have killed somebody. You know, I mean, you know, is that what you're waiting?
I don't know what you mean by, am I going to wait for that fatality to happen? So,
I mean,
as I said, the reports will come in for antisocial behaviour, and we'll deal with it. The properties that we deal with are unlicensed exempt accommodation, so we're not waiting for anything to happen. We'll respond as we get the complaints.
Who deals with the licensed properties?
There is the licensed one.
Yeah,
so
the
we've
licensed
got
ones,
within
the
Birmingham.
selective licensing.
Okay, within Birmingham City Council, there's a private rented team, and they
DRS
deal.
team,
They deal with the HMOs. Because to get a HMO, you have to have a license. And also the selective licenses scheme is all dealt with within that department. So,
Okay, so
we can feed back to them.
Article 4 how would you want to trigger that?
Sorry, say that again.
Article 4, if you wanted to trigger that, like in certain areas like Erdington, that's triggered and they can't no longer get any HMO licenses within that area.
It won't stop supported.
Okay, it won't stop supporting.
No, as I said, and I'll say it once more,
Okay,
there is
I
no
know,
license
you've
attached to
reiterated that, but in
support.
terms of under Article 4,
Doesn't make
it don't matter. So that's kind of supersedes that.
That's why they're called exempt. We call them exempt because
So,
they're
all right,
exempt
so in
from
terms
every
of these exempt
legislation.
properties,
Sorry.
okay, so in terms of these exempt properties,
Yes,
you're saying, yeah,
yes.
these RSLs and these, is there anything that you as a local authority can do for us?
With the
Because so these are the people. All right, you've said in terms of how you investigate the complaints,
Yeah.
or the individuals.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you can actually do to enforce the actual, without you're saying the timeline's so long and you've closed down 4 in a period of 18 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's not many, considering how many have been open. They've been open. Every third house is one of these.
Yeah. That's because that's how you can't
So
just
how do
you can't just get a complaint about something and the next month have enough evidence to take it to court to meet a legal standard to have it
No,
closed.
but I'm on about
It doesn't work like that.
I understand that. I understand the legal implications. You have
Yeah.
to go before court of law and you have to prove that.
Yeah.
But in terms of opening them, in terms of you're saying there's no regulation,
Yeah.
surely there's got to be some sort of some sort of governance.
There isn't. That's the point I'm trying to explain to you. There is nothing.
Okay, you
You need to lobby the government to get the legislation
in
changed.
Erdington.
Sorry. Can I just come, because this gentleman's had his hand up.
No, let them go. Let them go. Let them.
Smash them up, didn't
Yeah, go on.
I wouldn't advise that because you'll just get prosecuted for criminal damage.
I'm not saying me. People may get heated. People may get heated and they may go out
It's
here
not
and they
a
may
good
start
idea.
smashing
It's not a good
houses.
idea to take the law into your own hands.
But to me, but
People out there.
It's not a good idea to do it.
but to me, with the incident that happened last week, is more likely is supporting living, really supporting people that have mental illness, because that guy.
They're not going to support it.
That guy wasn't in supported accommodation. He was in a HMO. I've spoken to
Whichever one it is, supported HMO, he didn't get the necessary support that he needed.
Nobody's getting it.
Yeah, you don't.
Nobody's getting it.
So if you rent from a HMO, the support doesn't come with that. It only comes with the supported accommodation.
But to me, but to me, what my last question is, because I have to say, it doesn't matter what we say at the end of the day. I would like to meet the people that make the decisions for this area or Birmingham, because it seems like basically, oh, it doesn't matter, put it there. Oh, it doesn't matter, put it there. And I've seen it in the cabinet meetings. Oh, I've been around that area many of times. Oh, it's a good area. We'll put the HMOs there. That's the decision that they make at the city council. So I have to say it again, I'm going to hold on to this thing that basically once the horse already bolted through the gates, you cannot reel it back in.
Yeah. So with the HMOs, again, those have to go through the licensing, and I don't get involved. I don't work in.
No, I'm not saying that, but to me, it's more likely get the person here that makes the decisions.
If you want the person here that made the decision around supported accommodation, you're going to have to get the Home Secretary here from the government. That's where it's.
No, and also the people that work for the city council.
No,
So
it's not the
hold
people
on.
that work for the city council that make those decisions.
Then basically you're a government body that doesn't have any teeth.
Not when it comes to support.
And then it also sounds like it's also hold on. It also sounds like that you rented out this.
We didn't
this
rent
type.
anything.
Seco?
We don't give permission to
Is it-
anybody to do it.
You don't rent out,
No, the permission doesn't come from the city council. We don't have any.
but are you renting out your services to somebody else?
No, we're not.
Hold on,
It's an independent
Okay, I believe you.
You're saying you shut down 4 in 18 months.
Yes.
In Erdington, there's a female councillor, Labour councillor, who shut down 4 houses in 1 month. How is that possible?
Not with supported.
No.
accommodation.
I'll give you evidence against that. I'll give you evidence.
Please do.
Yeah, I will do 4
Because if
houses in 1 month. How you manage
If
that?
it's supported.
You're saying 4 houses in 18 months.
If it's supported accommodation, it would have been done by my team. So please do give me the information. I'll look at that.
Even if it's HMO, it doesn't matter. But my point is, you're saying
The
4 houses in
HMOs are
18 months.
different.
And she's done 4 in 1 month. How?
Give me the information because I know what's going on in Erdington. So if you give me that information,
You know what's going on in Erdington?
I'll check it.
Okay, so why is
I
it
cover
that?
the whole city.
Okay, so why is it that you move all the HMOs from Erdington into Aston?
They haven't been moved.
Yes, they have.
There's plenty.
Yes, they have, love. Yes, they have, love.
Starkling
You
Green.
can't tell us they haven't. I'm telling you right
Starkling
now.
Green.
Because I tell you why, Erdington used to be a shithole. What you done to Aston right now? You understand? So you move everything into here.
Okay, I haven't. we
And
haven't.
I'm telling you something right now, right? The vigilante groups will get ready to smash up all these houses. I'm telling
As
you.
long as they're ready to be arrested. that's
Yeah,
fine.
but don't worry about
As
arresting.
long
Police
as-
are
You're
not
not gonna have to find
ready.
people first. Then I'm telling you.
In 1 week.
Plus, there's going to be protests happening in block of all these roads. I'm telling you right now.
Police are doing this
gonna happen.
So all
all
the
the
houses are getting reported, yes. The communities will have to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not going to do nothing about it, it's going to be in all hands. Simple as that.
I didn't say we were doing nothing about it.
police
I
are
made it very
neglecting
clear
nothing
to
to
you.
do with it.
None of your steps are effective.
You're not going to do
One-
nothing
one
about it,
second,
but at
one
the same
I
time, you
said
said
there
you're
are
going
still
to take
plenty
about
of supported
18 months before
accommodation
you
in
can do anything
Urgency.
about
I
it.
know the addresses of them.
Okay, so why are you not giving permission in certain Caulfield?
If someone bought a property in Sutton
Yeah.
Coldfield and wanted to convert
They
it,
wouldn't
now, we have
They wouldn't
got
get enough. They wouldn't
yes.
get enough. I'm telling you
Right,
now.
let me
They
just
wouldn't
clear.
get
For
it.
supported accommodation, you don't need permission.
Yeah, but
So I
the
just wanna make
neighborhood
that
don't
clear.
straight
And
away.
we have
Neighborhoods,
actually-
the
there are
neighborhoods,
actually-
the
there are
neighborhoods
actually
before
a
the
couple-
council say we're not having it. That's the issue. Simple as
Right, no,
that.
it's not.
He is getting ignored.
Right.
He's getting ignored.
Okay, there are a couple of supported accommodation in Sutton Coldfield because I know all the addresses, but no one has to give permission to set up a supported accommodation. Anyone can set it up
No,
anywhere.
no, no. You know what's happening? What you done? You put all the mess into this area.
No, we haven't.
Okay.
Yes,
We
it
haven't.
is.
No, we
I'm telling
haven't.
you. This is-
All right, give the next one a chance to speak, bro. Let the speak all right.
Roland, do you want to say a few words?
I just want to contribute to the energy and the passion in the room. I'm going to say if we continue like this, we are not going to get anywhere. This meeting alone is not going to get us everywhere. It's not going to get us the answer that we are looking for today. So it's going to kind of lead to progress. So to get the answer that we are,
We need more people there, hire people.
No. Yeah, let him finish. Carry on. So when we say supported accommodation, a little or anybody will understand what it means. It means people that live in that property.
How long have you been living in Aston, bro?
I've been living in Aston for about 7 years.
Yeah,
We've been
so
all our
40
lives,
years.
bro.
We've been here all our lives.
It's part of what I do for work. When it says supported accommodation, it means people that live in that property need support. So we need more than just people that live in that property. We need people that live in the property. They come with care plan. So if the manager or the people that run the property are not supporting those people that live in the property, we are going to have this problem anywhere, not just in Aston. So we need more people. We need people from the care sector, from the council. Then we need people that make decisions, that give these houses out. If I run a supported accommodation and I'm not supporting the people that I was meant to be supporting, remember government will pay this landlord to support these people, but these people are not getting the support. That's why the impact is that's why the community is feeling the impact because the support is not there for these people.
But then what they're saying is there's no regulation. So
There's
no
They
regulation.
do come with care plan. That's why we need more people. So if I have a if I struggle with my mental health and you send me to Aston without any care plan, you will send me with a care plan, and there's a provider that say, you know what, I can look after Roland. If Roland is not being looked after, then Roland is going to end up in your streets. So the problem is not the person that gave the permission for somebody to look after me, it's the person that's not looking
It comes
after
down
me.
as a person, though, that
Yeah,
all
but
the
that's
people
what
that
we
are
need.
supported
What we
accommodation
need,
are
that's
economics.
100% what you're saying, we agree with, yeah, Roland, we agree with that. But the thing is, isn't it? The issue is actually managing that. So the person that's responsible for giving that, that support and what have you, or putting in extra support, how do you regulate that?
That's what
If
we
that's
need
not,
to-
this
that's
is
what
the
we need
question.
to ask
This is
for.
what I'm asking. This is what I'm asking here. Because how do we enforce that if the person is not putting in the support? You understand?
Yeah.
So that's what I've been asking all along.
Yeah.
So I understand where you're
Nobody
coming
gets
from.
You guys,
and
you guys are saying the same thing, same thing, your concerns are the same, they're not managed properly, and there isn't an audit.
They could have
You know,
managed
Some of the sport workers are actually smoking drugs themselves. Exactly. They're on drugs themselves, the sport workers are. So what sport are they gonna get?
You know what's happening?
All sport workers should be drug tested. They're not drug tested.
I think going forward,
Yeah,
we'll have to have another meeting, perhaps.
But you know
And we'll
what?
have to-
Once
we'll
you
have
have
to-
to another meeting, you need everybody here, not
Yeah.
just you.
Yeah.
Police not being here. Police, you got council, not everybody here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because obviously Labour are in
The
charge.
licensing-
Labour are the top dog right now.
And then I'm sure
But
everybody.
really and truly, what we need no more HMOs or no more sporty accommodation in the area. And he's already put it onto his limit. And if you can't do that, there's no point sitting here wasting our time.
There's no point.
There's no point. We'd rather scale up and walk as we go and go.
Elderly mothers and sisters are scared to go down on the road.
Yeah.
There's guys walking with machetes and axes in their back and stuff like that.
You know the
You go to the local Tesco.
Look, I'll give you one example.
Give me one
He's
minute.
next door house. He was supposed to become a HMO, yeah. So they sent that letter to all of us. We all refused it. As soon as he come at the HMO, the girl rings across and goes, "Don't worry, I will do something." And what do? Change it straight into a sporty accommodation.
That's because you don't need.
But that's what I'm saying. First,
permission
you try to
from
have
anyone.
HMO, so the loop around it
But in that house now, those drug users, drug dealers, always fighting, causing trouble. You know what I'm saying?
I totally understand what you're saying because we have to deal with it every day in the team that I've got. We deal with these complaints across the whole city.
So
every
then why
single
hasn't that
day.
has been dealt with then?
Because, as I said, we can go into a property, we can have someone evicted, and then the following day someone else is in. If we've got enough evidence, it will close that property down. We can't stop it becoming another supported accommodation by another provider. There is no license, law, or legislation that will stop supported accommodation. That's why we need to get the government to change that legislation and bring it in. So they have to have a license.
When's that gonna happen?
We have been trying for 3 years to get the government to change it. So we are pushing. There are MPs across the city pushing
There is
as
a
well.
system, in everything is a process. If you don't follow that process, you won't get the result. Yeah, simple as that. The problem with us Muslims, I'll tell you something, I deal with government officials at a high level. The problem with Muslims is we say all these things, but when it comes to putting pen to paper, nobody does it.
But uncle, it's not only Muslims. My next neighbor, she's Hindu.
I'm not just saying this. Us Asians, let me tell you, us Asians, I've been in meetings with high officers and telling them all these things. They say, okay, we'll give us the evidence.
Can we have one meeting? Can we have one
When I
meeting?
tell my brothers or my next door neighbor,
Can we have one meeting, please?
last week?
Okay, listen to it. Listen to it.
Can we have one
Oh,
meeting?
because we are not doing the right thing. You can
No,
shout
no,
and
we
whatever
are
you
doing the
do.
right
But
thing.
you are
There's no action can be taken, uncle. Look, we're talking to them. Look what.
Brother, we can't even agree on what they want to do either. They're not agree on that.
You can
government.
because there is a system, brother. There is a system.
They can't do anything.
They can't stop the sporty accommodation.
They can't do anything.
Uncle, they're telling you they can't stop that.
Yes, we can do something, but you need to report every time there's an issue around the ASB.
Yeah,
We
we
build
report
up
it.
the pack and we will build up the pack.
Report it,
We
report it,
can't-
and
One person needs to
2027.
talk at a time, please, or else we're not going to hear anybody. So when you report it, we can build up an evidence pack. Now, what we can't stop happening is someone creating a supported accommodation. That's what we can't do because there's no
That's the
legislation.
one-
there's
that's
no
the
right.
loophole
That's the issue.
You're absolutely right, and trust me, we are as frustrated as you are. So you can't stop that. But when that property is there and there are problems there, you need to keep telling us, and we will investigate them. If we've got enough evidence, we'll close that property down. And if there is enough evidence to back it, we can get planning to put an order in place to stop it becoming supported accommodation again. But you need to keep telling us about the issues in the reports.
Sorry, guys, just one quick. You know, you talked about keeping up evidence-based sort of log of everything. Right? Guys, everybody see this? This is just some of the log that I checked. And I've emailed all the relevant departments within the council. Everything making a
Yeah, Darshan's one of my officers.
He's also been copied in on the emails that I've been sending. This has been going on since 2022. It's a recurring theme. And to be honest with you, I've just had recent people, I've just had them evicted, if you like, by concept. Concept is the housing. They've just emptied the property and settled it. I had to do that twice before. People that they were growing marijuana plants and whatnot and everything. So when you talk about that, I understand what you're saying in terms of relevance. But to be honest with you, your team member, Darshan, I've been emailing recently, he hasn't returned any of my emails.
There you go. Then you also know.
I'm just saying.
There you go. You need better stuff.
So if you just look at that, that's just a plethora.
Yeah, but you've also said that they've emptied the property twice, so they have taken action against the
Yes, but it's a
individuals in there.
recurring theme, it keeps happening.
Took them 18 months.
Can you understand from my point of view? I'm looking after an elderly relative.
No, I
I said I don't
understand
live there. I grew up
Yeah.
there. My mom lives there. She has severe dementia. On either sides of that property are vulnerable people.
Yeah.
My mom is on one side of the river as well. It's a very quiet area. What I'm trying to say to you is, you know, you've said to everybody here, protocol. I followed that protocol for 2.5 years, and councillor's been involved in that. Councillor Mooncastle knows everything. She's had to basically do an email to the relevant people to take action. But the thing is, can you understand from my point of view, it's draining to go through the same thing
No,
over and over
I
again.
understand that, and before I go tonight, give me those
And
details,
I'll
and I'll make
really
sure
say-
Darshan's connected to that. But as I said, without knowing all the ins and outs of the cases, so you did say there's a lot there, you're absolutely right, but you also said the property has been cleared out on 2 occasions. So is it that the individuals that are going in there in supported accommodation, you're already getting vulnerable people going in there that are coming in straight away with drug and alcohol and mental health problems. So that just restarts the problem again.
Yeah.
So it's about at what stage. So when you're looking at this, because Concept have worked with us and emptied the property on 2 occasions and looking like doing it a 3rd time again, they are doing everything they can and clearing out the property, and then new people are coming in. So we can only go as far. If Concept didn't work with us and they weren't doing anything and they weren't clearing out the property each time we were getting the complaints, then we'd have a case to take against them. But they're clearly doing something because they're emptying the property out when we get the complaints.
They're only doing that because of involvement of people like and the bodies involved. They just sort of, if you like, kind of sort of put on a little bit of a show, if you like, of other people. But
I do take a little exception to that because I know how hard my officers work, and they work really hard, and they do a lot of work without any Pam Powis, without any external influence coming in. But let me make sure that you're getting the service you deserve there. Yeah.
It's not personal. You see what Alan is saying. Same thing that these guys are echoing, but obviously these guys are very frustrated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that.
And we need to work out how we can go forward now. So when we have problems like this in any properties,
In the exempt only, I can only deal with
Right,
the
okay.
supported exempt.
what is the best way of sorting out? Because okay, so for example, say a child's got GCSE exams and the next door they're banging the doors and they're smoking. And it's a hot day. They've got the windows open. They're smoking marijuana from the other house coming into your house. Your kids having to inhale it, and and then they ring the police. And the police say, "Oh, is this something for the council?" I've had a lot of people. They've rang the police. They say, "Oh, ring your councillor," and then they ring me. But I'm not an emergency service. I'm not an emergency service, so I can't deal with it there and then. How can we deal with it?
So if
If
it,
it is call the council, I've had this before. Police says go tell the council. The council tells me to call the police.
Yeah.
and that's bad service, without a doubt. There's no
That's
excuse for
normal
that. Can't give
service
any
for us
excuse
then.
for that. So
Yeah,
if you're getting a problem and there's drugs there and that's a criminal act, so the police should be responding to that. But I'm not going to speak for the police. I'm not a police officer, so perhaps at the next meeting, if we can get them there, we can have that conversation with them. But what I would say is there are so we've got what we call the front door. So we've got an email address where you can report everything directly to us. The PRS team have also got an email address that if you report it direct to them and it's not a HMO supported, then that gets transferred to us. It's to deal with antisocial behaviour. So if they say report it to the council, it's on the council website. So if you want to, you Google the council website, report antisocial behaviour, you get the general ASB one, but then you also get another link that says that if you are not a Birmingham City Council tenant, report your ASB here. And that comes to us, that comes directly through to my team, because we don't just deal with supported exempt accommodation. And then that will come through and get investigated. Now, I'm not going to say that I haven't got an emergency service, so my guys will quite often work till 9 o'clock at night, but they still only get paid for 36 hours a week, so they have to manage that time. And there are only 3 of them for the whole of the city.
So why is that you're not getting more people on board on your team?
Because there's no money to get them on board. There is no money.
You got the money, you stop your pocket tickets.
So all the people that get the supported accommodations, do they pay any fee or anything with the council or
No.
nothing?
No.
They don't pay nothing.
No. The council.
They got license to go around smoke crack.
If someone wants to set up a supported accommodation, the council have nothing to do
The
with
council
it.
needs to
Not
reduce
permission,
payments
not
to the
getting
landlord, doesn't
payments,
need to do.
not nothing. The only
Yeah,
thing
reduce
that
the
comes,
payments, they ain't gonna put no money in.
there's nothing to do with the payments either. The only thing that slightly gets the council involved is there's a housing benefit. If someone pays housing benefits, the housing benefit will go through to the housing benefits team. That's it. Other than that, the council are
Yeah,
not
but you know
involved
on
at all.
each household should be a sport worker.
You're absolutely right.
There's
they
no
should.
sport workers going into these premises.
And
what they're doing is getting a month in advance paperwork signed, and they're sitting in the back doing everything.
And
And obviously, which is not fair.
No, I totally agree with you.
If your sport worker went in there every day before going in there, ask your neighbours, has things going on,
Yeah.
then you can deal with the
You're
situation. But
absolutely
they're not
right.
doing that.
I totally agree
If
with
you
you.
feel well managed, you won't have problems.
I totally agree with you. And let me just quantify that. And I know you probably don't feel like it in your area, but there are some supported accommodations that are really, really well looked after, and the people in those properties are properly looked after. And when you have those organisations do the job correctly, you have a really good facility. And what you do then is you have vulnerable people going into a property, being looked after, being helped, being supported, and then moving back out into the community in more secure accommodation because they've gone through that process. Unfortunately, in Birmingham, well, it's not unique to Birmingham, but we just have we're the largest local authority in Europe, so it's a large local authority. In Birmingham, we have quite a few of these landlords who they take the money and don't do what they're supposed to do. And when we find out about those, and we can work with our colleagues within housing benefit, so if we do identify a provider that's not given that support and care, and we can support our housing benefit colleagues to show the evidence, the housing benefit team can withdraw that benefit, and then those providers will not do supported anymore because they're not getting paid the housing benefit for it. So there's different ways. Are we doing it all in one go? No, because we haven't got the resources to do it all. And I'm really sorry that we can't
So
do
obviously
it
now
all.
you're saying you don't have resources, yes, that's fine. So all the vigilantes who are getting together, so now they're going to take the law into their own hands. Then I'm sorry, but they're going to have to blame the resources.
All I'm going
Because he is going to get nasty, I can promise you that right now.
All I'm going to say
People are going mad out there on the roads.
And I get that. I understand frustration. I understand how people are feeling. All I'm going to say is that's never the best way. Because
you don't.
Yes, I do.
No,
Yes,
don't put your hand up on me like that, please. That's just
I
cheeky.
do. Right. Okay. You don't know me.
Don't put your hand up.
No, but you don't know me. You don't know my circumstances, so you don't.
No, but in
you
terms
don't
of
know.
you saying that we don't know, you
No,
know.
you
but in
said
terms
I
of-
don't
no,
know.
We're living it.
No, I
We're
know
living
that.
it.
I
We're
know
living
that.
it.
And you don't
Yeah,
know
we're
me.
living it.
Yeah, I know that. I
You're
know
not
that.
living in Aston.
No, I don't live in Aston.
Exactly,
You're
rest
right.
my case.
But it doesn't mean I don't know. So all I'm going to say is
Here and now.
don't do the vigilante stuff. It's not always because you people who are passionate and doing it for the reasons that you feel.
No, but
you're the ones that might end up in trouble, and that would be a shame.
Trust
That
me,
would be a real
everybody's
shame.
clever around here. A couple of cases you won't find nobody. But my point is,
I'm
right
not-
here, why should it lead to that?
Yeah, but
It's
I
making
agree.
it come towards that stage that people are sick and tired of it.
Okay.
People work, they can't go to sleep,
Okay.
and that's why they fight.
So-
Music, smashing
Can we-
bottles.
can we-
You understand where I'm coming from? You need to understand where people live around here, how we live.
I do understand.
It's getting bad day
yeah,
by
the
day.
direct
Okay.
impact on the crime rate in the area.
No,
as well.
By the time you get evidence against one person, like, I'll give you a typical example. I stood outside and I said to the guy, where you come from? He goes, oh, I come from London. Something will ever happen. They kicked him out of the house. I seen another guy coming. So I said, where you come from? Worcestershire. Where are you all coming? All come from out the area.
So,
They're
you don't know
from
who they are,
Britain and it's from
ex-murderers,
Britain.
Anything.
Okay.
No, I agree with you, and that's a problem.
And they're
as
all
well.
like from out the area, they're miles and miles away from Aston. And then when they come here and they cause all the nuisance and the problem.
And it's not disgusting. No, I agree.
In
I agree.
a
I
one
agree,
week,
and I know
in a
that
one
happens.
week, in a 1 week or 10 days is the same on Aston Lane is a 4 to 5 incident.
More than that.
You know the Sunday is a mainly I'm showing is a Sunday is the 8th of June is in the evening is 5 in between 5 and 6 with the two guys
Yeah,
is with the big
Machete
machetes
is fighting.
on the road. They're fighting.
Don't make
Busy
sense.
traffic,
No,
busy
no,
traffic,
family
and
walking past.
there is that is a Thursday with the machetes. That guy. Same day, police is nearly is 100 police officers there behind the one guy.
On the
And
incident,
same
They
road
had to
on
respond
Aston.
because he was on-
1 minute. It's the same road on Aston Lane. Is a robbery on the. They break the house. Same day. And in the morning, I wake up. It's 4 a.m. in the morning. Is a police was there. 2 police officers. There's a robbery in the house, and 12 a.m. Something like that. 11 a.m. One is my neighbors across the road. He says, "It's my house. Is a was a robbery. They took everything from the."
And what are they robbing?
And
Sugar,
like that.
oil,
Who's responsible for that? Can you tell us what's going on?
Can we wrap this meeting up today? You know, I'm just sorry.
I'm sure you've got the gist of the frustration.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You've got to a boiling point, and you, as representative of the London City Council, you need to do something about it now. And I think the one thing that we would all like to do is One, we want to end up the HMO.
Yeah.
Okay, if not removed, first of all, put an end. We don't want anymore. Easy now. Okay, the supportive accommodation, we don't want anymore. Okay? I know you can't do anything, but
I would love
please,
to.
let's arrange another meeting with the senior officers. I like the senior police here. I like the HMO, licensing team, right? And then whatever it is, we need an end to any more increases, right? And then how it can be reduced, get them out of this area.
How we can manage
It
better.
is really getting to a frustrating point where things are going to get worse. And you need to move, as the Women's here, please make another emergency meeting next week or something. Have it here, I don't care, right? But bring all the senior people, and it needs to be.
But it needs to be like a week's time.
Who
not
can
like
make the
3 months at a
decision?
time. It doesn't make sense.
There needs to be
18 months.
For any application, because except maybe we all get it, it's without any permission. Managing agent can set up. The HMOs, do you have to sign them up? So you're not signing anymore.
No.
The HMOs, there aren't anymore.
No.
I think it's exempt.
It's the supported ones.
It's the supported ones.
Then you stop. Then you stop.
That's the loophole. That's where the issue may be.
It's a loophole, and it's a horrible loophole. And it's one that I completely agree with all your feelings here. And if I could stop it tomorrow, trust me, I would.
Okay, so taking everything that you've heard, you're going to support it accommodation, though they have standards for housing itself.
No, right. So
they have regulations, it's
to-
must be inspected.
No.
No.
If you and I wanted to, if you and I got together tomorrow, we wanted to buy a house and convert it into supported accommodation, all we'd have to do is register at Companies House for business and we're off. That's it.
Are they like CQC registered?
It has to be above, the supported has to be at the minimum.
Okay,
But there's no standard to it. But as I said, the really good ones, the ones that do the proper supported accommodation are absolutely brilliant. And there's a good reason why they were introduced. It's just that some groups have taken advantage of that and have come to create what you're talking about tonight.
Then we look at the standard and it goes down. They don't be met for property.
The City Council has put in place, it's a voluntary scheme, so they have put in place a charter to get all the registered providers to sign up to that, and they do have to meet a standard from that point of view. And there's a gold, silver, and bronze process, but it's a voluntary scheme. It's a voluntary scheme, so they don't have to do that.
Someone living in a property, they have to have a certain standard in property, even if it's a private accommodation.
No, not under the supported accommodation. Yeah, not even with the private landlords.
As a landlord, you have to accommodate certain
Holidays.
yeah, so why can't you visit on a troubled site?
We do.
Saying,
Go rogue, blood.
Please, take property, if there's a problem.
We do. No, we,
I've been kind of go rogue again.
yeah, we do that.
Can we
I need to
get
go
one more
rogue
question
again.
There's 22,000 supported units in Birmingham and 3 offices to try and deal
We
with
need
that.
to wrap this up now. Can we just get Roland to say what he's going to say? Then we wrap this up and arrange another meeting.
Yeah, I'm just going to say to finish, this issue doesn't just affect we adults, it also affects young people.
Yeah.
And
That's what we said.
area.
It's destroying our kids' futures. That's what we said.
If we have any problem with any property and we put complaint in and there is evidence, this property is supported accommodation, housing benefits to pay the rent. So can housing benefits stop the rent? So that can be reinforced. I think that can be the way that we can. So if the rent is stopped, the rent is stopped and the provider is no longer getting this rent, they'll do something about it or they'll move out, they'll move them out.
That can only be stopped if the provider isn't providing the supported accommodation and we can evidence that. So just for an example, if there's evidence that the support's been provided, but you've got a couple of individuals that are causing antisocial behaviour, that can't happen because the provider can show evidence that the support has been given. But if we can, and we've done it many, many times with lots of properties, if we can show that there is no support given, and we have to have statements from people living in the property that will confirm they're not getting any support, they've not got a managing agent coming in on a daily basis, then we can work with the housing benefit team to remove that. And through that process, over this last 3 years, we have pulled back over nearly £8 million from organisations that were claiming they were doing stuff and they weren't. So we do that as well. But I said it probably doesn't feel like that to you because you've got this intensity in a small location and you're feeling it in a bigger. So everything I'm saying to you now, I know it's happening. I know it's happening across the city, but it doesn't feel like that to you. And I totally get where you're coming from there. But all I can tell you is that we are doing stuff about it, but it's not enough for you, and you're not feeling the difference. And I hear that.
Nobody listen, right? Yeah, the crime has gone high up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we've got to pay the double money for this. We don't get paid enough to us to give out double money. Our car insurance, for example, it's gone sky to the roof. Here's where it's coming from. So you're bringing people from outsiders here into here, causing the crime, and we got to pay for it. It don't make sense.
We don't bring them in, and this is something we've been talking to about colleagues outside the country as well.
Okay, so let me give you an example now. Yeah, like, one minute, man. Let me give you an example. Now, if I was to buy a house in Sutton Coldfield, right, set up as sporting accommodation, right, I put in 6-7 lads in there, right. They start causing drama, everyone what's happening here. I guarantee you, it'll be shut in 1 week.
No,
I guarantee you that right now.
Only if there's enough evidence. Okay, there are.
So if they come out in Sutton Coldfield, you know what's going to happen?
There
You can shut down within a week.
are properties that are supported accommodation in Sutton Coldfield as we speak right now.
Yeah, but the rate of people, the caliber of people that they've got there.
You've got
the same
decent people living there.
Not
So there's no problem.
necessarily.
Here, you put all the shit here.
My officers respond to complaints in those properties as well.
But listen, I'm telling you seriously now, the vigilante group's getting ready, and it's going to get nasty. Right, so you need to start acting on this quickly.
I'm not.
According to priority.
I'm listening.
Serious
right. Okay. No.
I'm being serious with you.
And I'm being serious for you. And
I've heard many today saying we're going to get ready now. They're going to start doing stupid stuff. So this
So
needs to
it
be
is
done.
stupid stuff. It is stupid stuff.
We're going to wrap this meeting up. We're going to wrap this meeting up. Pat, do you see the frustration? I think we need to get another meeting arranged.
Councillor, this will be for yourself, community safety and housing.
I know, I understand. Do you think you'll be able to reach out to the stakeholders for them to have another meeting here? I'm looking 2 weeks time, around about 30th.
Write down your telephone number.
I'd like to have a conversation.
I'll give you our email address.
Right, okay, all right. Right. I'd just like to say thank you for everyone for attending today. I really appreciate it. And we're looking at another meeting in a couple of weeks' time.
Is there a telephone line?
No, it's through, that's through our front door. We haven't got a separate ID. There is someone behind that email address every day.
Does anyone have any addresses that they want to complain about?
And your name?
But you know what happens though? The police are making the council.
Thank you.